A much needed series sweep against the Houston Astros. The Seattle Mariners absolutely needed it. And let's just hope that it can continue the rest of the way.
Baseball stuff!
Baseball stuff!
Houston, we have a problem. You can't win ball games, and now you sit at the bottom of the American League West. Not us. Couldn't be us. Couldn't be the Seattle Mariners, who now sit not in the basement anymore. No longer sitting at the bottom of the AL West and 10% into the season. You only sit one game out of the playoffs. Hello, everyone, and welcome on in to Hold My Trident, a Seattle Mariners podcast, episode 49. Look at that. Almost about making a milestone, Gavin.
Let's do it.
Milestone. Maybe that'll be on the live stream on Thursday, milestone 50. But on today's show, we're going to talk about the sweep against the Houston Astros. Now the Houston Astros, if you go and look at those league standings and go look at all 30, they're sitting at the absolute very bottom. Oh, woe is me. Isn't that so sad that actually is happening to the Houston Astros? I know that we are just really feeling for them. I'm feeling for the injuries, though. I will say, though, they are just dealing with a ton of injuries, but Seattle really bounced back in this one, moved to 8-9 on the season. They needed this sweep. The meat of the order took off. The rotation looked good. The bullpen looked solid. Even with dealing with some flu and sickness from Brendan Donovan and a couple other things, the Mariners looked really great. I think you can talk now. Go ahead.
I'm going to get into some stats here in a minute, but I wanted to just talk about that whole conversation we had last week, especially on the live. If you joined us last week on the live, we were talking about, are you in the it's early camp, or are you in this team needs a swift kick in the pants camp? And I think most of us agreed that it's still early, but you do need some life. And this is exactly what we needed. We were all talking last week on they can absolutely take 3 out of 4 from the Astros in this series. You're back home. You got a lot of the juices flowing, and just, some of the guys just need to, buckle down and just be better at the plate. So without further ado, let's get into some of these stats from the weekend. As a team, I will reiterate that they slashed 289, 422, and 477 with 37 total hits spread out over the 4 games. That's almost averaging 10 hits a game. Impressive, bringing in 29 runs to the plate. You can't ask for much more from your hitters, including a huge come from behind victory. They showed real gusto, down 7-2, coming back and winning that game. And this was the team, obviously, to do it against, but this was the team that you expect to do it against in 2026. The Astros, they're always going to find a way to be a pest or be pesky. And I think later down the road, once they get more health on their roster, I think they could be, a pesky series. Even if they're out of the playoffs at some point, I still think that they're going to be a hurdle, just with the team that they've always provided you. So you saw exactly what you needed to see. Now it's about carrying the momentum. So we talked a little bit about the stats. We talked a little bit about, what was kind of to expect going into that series. And now we're at the end of that series. The pitching staff as well. We didn't see too many warbles in the lineup. And I know I'm throwing that word out there. Warbles are, just kind of, ups and downs and everything. So it was great from the hitting side. It was great from the pitching side. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, I think maybe if you wanted to go and pick at it, Luis Castillo didn't have the best outing. I think that's fair. He didn't have the best outing, giving up 7 runs, but they won that game. So at the end of the day, that's your bats woke up. Cole Wilcox had one bad outing, but I still like what Cole Wilcox brings to the team, and he had a great outing to finish it up, to finish the series up, to kind of bounce back on that one. So I think Castillo will bounce back as well. I'm not really too concerned. I think the rotation, I think the pitching staff, everybody is looking really good. I mean, you can even make the argument that Munoz was one of your worst relievers in this series, because there was multiple times, although that he came in and took care of business, but he walked some traffic. He put Yordan Alvarez up to the plate with the bases loaded, with potentially a chance for them to win the game.
He gave us a little bit of roller coaster Rodney, but hey, you're gonna, if you're gonna have those, let's kick those in the beginning of the year, and let's just coast the rest of the way.
Yeah, this is the way to get in the midseason form, right? Is to deal with these peaks and valleys of right now at the moment. You mentioned those 29 runs in 4 games in this wraparound series with the Astros. Before that, in the 13 games prior to this series, they only scored 40 runs. So you had 29 in this 4-game series and then 40 in the first 13. I'll take that all day long. That just shows that this offense is waking up, and it's the right people that are waking up too. We got home runs from Cal Raleigh. He's now got 2 on the year. Julio finally got a home run. And then Josh Naylor in the series ending game on Monday hit 2 in his first 2 at-bats, and they were beautiful hits. I mean, it was his first extra base hit, and they both went out of the yard. Gotta love that from getting it from Naylor. And, he went to social media and went and reported it after the game and talked about how he was, obviously knows that he's been slumping, but talked about how great the fan base he's noticed that have been showing, like, motivating him and still being and supporting him. That's exactly what you need to hear, because that's not always the case. We've heard talking about bat speed and things like that. So.
Well, and shout out to this fan base too. I know it's not easy to get to a Monday afternoon game, but I think we showed out pretty well on a Monday afternoon, and we've been doing that through the ups and downs, and just stay with that. The boys love it. As you're seeing from Julio, Cal, and Josh Naylor, and the rest of the team has mentioned how good of a fan base that we have. Keep at it. Keep at it. Don't be fair weather when we go on a slump, which we started the year off. There might be another slump down the way, where we're on a 6-game skid or whatever. Don't lose faith. Keep going. Keep doing your thing. This team will have your back at the end of the day. I can almost guarantee that.
Is 26 walks in 4 games good? I feel like that's good. That's insane. That's insane.
Wait, from the pitching side, or how are we phrasing
on the
this?
bat? We got
on the batting side.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Seattle got on base via the walk 26 times. Only struck out 25. They walked more than they struck out.
422 team OBP. A 422 team OBP. You hope that you have one player that's in the 400s, let alone a team OBP of 422. Shout out.
9 extra base hits in this series. 24 of the 24 hits, 9 of them are extra base hits. You get 26 walks, only 25 strikeouts, only 1 stolen base, but whatever. And the team leaders in hits, Randy Arozarena with 5, Julio with 5, Luke Raley with 4. You got to love that you're getting it from the meat of the order. Luke Raley obviously staying hot as well. There's probably a little bit of concern with a couple other players, but other than that, the team is looking really, really sharp. I think the only concerns I have entering this new series from the bats right now is, one, can they continue? Can Brendan Donovan stay consistent after being out a couple games because of the sickness? And how will that mess with him, if it will at all? Hopefully that's not the case. He only played in 2 games this series. And when he did, he had 1 hit, or he was hitless, actually. Got on base from the walk in his 3 at-bats. That's it. Of course, Rob Refsnyder has been kind of absent all season so far. Dom Canzone starting to potentially become one of those question marks if they do make a roster move. Is it Dom Canzone now instead of Leo Rivas potentially being the one that could be on the move? If they do make let's just say the Colt Emerson move.
Good question. I still think you're probably going to want to go with Leo Rivas, infielder for infielder. And also,
this is assuming that there's already a move for Connor Joe. For the record.
Yes, if you were looking past that, if you're looking at just those 2 in a vacuum and you're like, okay, who do you let go between just these 2 players? We're not taking into account kind of anything else. If you're just looking at those 2 players, what Dom Canzone can potentially provide you, especially from the power standpoint, is something that you're probably going to want to try and keep. And he got off to a hot start, and then it's been doing this. It's going to come back up, and the power numbers are going to help you out in the long run. They're going to help you win more games than potentially what Leo Rivas can do. I might be eating my words later down the road on that one, but I still think the long ball can help you in the era of 2026. And if there happens to be runners on first and second and he hits the long ball, I mean that's huge. If Leo Rivas gets on base and we got nobody to bring him in, well, there we go.
On Monday, Jerry DiPoto was on LB Network, and they asked him about how close Colt Emerson is to his major league debut. And his quote is exactly what you would expect from a guy like Jerry Dipoto. Short and sweet, and really didn't give any kind of love. It just says, quote, he's as close as they come. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Jerry's going to play a lot of things close to his vest. I think that just means when the timing is right, they can call him up. And now that quote doesn't look so stupid. Well, not stupid. It doesn't look so, I guess, out of touch. Or if they decide to wait all the way until like the September call-ups, he also doesn't look, he's not one to give big hints on what the next move is. He's going to play a lot of things close to the chest. So I'm not reading too much into that. I think, when we touched on the potential for Colt Emerson coming up, it's because of the defense and how bad the defense has been throughout the first, 15, 20 games of the year. And that would be the case where you're looking at how you can restructure the infield to make sure you have the optimal defense behind. But yeah, it's difficult to say. Just if Jerry says anything, you just don't know what to kind of expect next. It could be, hey, he's getting called up next home series, or we won't see him until September, or hey, we won't even see him until 2027.
Yeah, they had him playing shortstop and third base this past weekend. So something maybe just to keep in mind. Just an update on his stats. Since I have the tab pulled up, we might as well talk about it. 49 at-bats, slash line for him is 265, 321 with a 729 OPS. I got to see his slug. I should have gave him the whole thing here. Of course, I don't have everything up the way I need to have it. Slugs 408. So let me give you the full slash line yet again. 265, 321, 408 for a 729 OPS. That's not bad. That's not bad in your first full year in 13 games in Tacoma. Look, I want him to get a little bit more prepared. I want him to see as many lefties as you possibly can before you come up here, because that has been a problem. But when it becomes an issue up at the major league level where lefties is just not working, like maybe a Rob Refsnyder conversation as well, maybe that's somebody that you have to worry about being in the potential. If Cole Emerson can hit lefties and figure out lefties, maybe not be a Rob Refsnyder kind of guy, but just kind of make sure he can take care of business when it's done. That might be a name that we're talking about maybe switching off for him. And that could be wild. That could be absolutely wild. I just can't wait for him to come up. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. And another thing that Dipoto said on the conversation is if they do it right, he'll be a Mariner for life. So interesting stuff on that regard as well. Moving on, they play the San Diego Padres. They hit the road for a 3-game series, not a day off on this upcoming Thursday like they've had over the past couple Thursdays, not another day off until the following Thursday, April 23rd. So you're playing a multiple series in a row here. You're going to leave the AL West for the first time in quite some time and take on an NL West opponent in the San Diego Padres down in Southern California. What's your takeaway from this 3-game series here? Right in the middle, you got Jackie Robinson Day.
Hey, yeah. Actually, I wanted to touch on the Cole Emerson just really quick.
Yeah.
The other thing with him is to note his strikeout to walk ratio is not the greatest. He has 17 strikeouts to just 2 walks. So I'm okay if they let him kind of marinate a little bit more in AAA and figure out a little bit more from the hitting side. The slash line isn't bad, but it's not something that you're like, oh, this guy has to be called up because he's hitting so well. We just, before this 4-game series, we're sitting there like, okay, anything and everything shall do in this lineup. So now that we've won, we took 4 straight games, we can kind of take a look a little bit deeper into Colt's numbers and understand, yeah, you might need a little bit more time to marinate a little bit. But yeah, as you had mentioned, getting into this Padres series tomorrow, we got Brian Wu taking on Michael King. Going to be a great matchup. I can already tell you, Michael King is incredibly good. And then obviously Brian Wu, I mean, he had technically, for his standards, a bad outing, and he still went 5 innings and only gave up 1 earned run his last outing against the Rangers. So expect a really good matchup tomorrow in San Diego. And then the rest of the series, Emerson Hancock takes on TBD. We don't know who's going on Jackie Robinson Day.
ESPN's got Vasquez.
Okay, so ESPN might have Vasquez. I'm just going off of the Padres.com. Right now they have TBD, but I guess you expect Vasquez, and then
Bueller Thursday.
And then Luis Castillo, it also says TBD, but it sounds like it could be Walker Buehler taking on the boys then. So, yeah, I'm excited for a good series as it stands right now. The Mariners have moved back to 8-9 on the year. The Padres are 10-6, and yeah, they're deadly. They have player after player after player that are big names that are traded in, and the Padres have a good team on paper. So we'll see how they kind of play out. And then shout out to Gardner Webb and Jim Chester, who I used to coach for. They had a former first rounder by the name of Mason Miller, who is one of the best closers in all the games. So excited to see him pitch. I know we're going to see him at least once. So I'm excited to see him pitch, and hopefully our boys can handle him a little bit. Hopefully this 4-game series against the Astros gave them the momentum to handle a pretty decent little pitching staff.
8 of the 9 last games, they won. They won their 4-game series against the Rockies at home. So they've been sitting at home for a little bit. They just took care of business against the Rockies. And this isn't the same Rockies team, by the way. They've shown a little bit of life so far this season. There really hasn't been any breakaway when you look at the standings. I mean, the Astros are at the very bottom of the standings, but they're 6-11, right? Like, they're not too far off. And then the very top at 11-4, there's no really breakout yet or anybody who's really falling off. But when you looked at how they took care of the Rockies, they won 7-3, 5-2, 9-5, 7-2. These Padres put up runs. Something that I was a little concerned about what Houston did entering this series, like they put up a lot of runs. You got to be careful for that. Houston was seen as one of the better offenses in Major League Baseball entering that series, but there was a lot of question marks when it came to the rotation, with the fact that their rotation was hardly giving innings. They kept using that stat and showing it on the graphic or on the broadcast that the bullpen had more innings than the starting rotation for Houston. You're not going to have that with San Diego in this one. You have an offense that is very successful right now, and you have a pitching staff that is much better than what Houston just gave out over the weekend against the Mariners. This one's going to be a little tougher of a series, but if the meat of the order, if the pitching staff, if everybody continues to shine and do this, there is no reason you can't win this series down in San Diego.
Oh, 100%. This is going to be a more battle-tested series, and it's going to, test them a little bit. I would imagine we're going to get some good weather down in San Diego for these next couple of days. And, the weather's been very kind to the Mariners and to us, people in the everybody in the Northwest. Sorry, I can't say that. I am down in Arizona. I've had 105-degree weather for the past month and a half, which is not acceptable in my opinion. It shouldn't be this until at least late May, but here we are. So excited to see what the weather could hold and how these boys hit in a little bit better weather. And yeah, it's going to be, it is definitely going to be a little bit more battle tested.
Team ERA for the Padres is at 3.41. That's just a little bit higher than what the Mariners are holding with a 3.01 ERA. They both hit about the same home runs. San Diego's hit 16 home runs on the year to Seattle's 14. And they're just a little bit better offensively than what Seattle has been so far this year. But remember, Seattle started very slow. So although San Diego just had a resurgence themselves, they didn't always be as great as they were. So maybe they're both getting hot at the same time, or maybe they can find a way for Seattle to cool them off just a little bit and take care of business down at Petco Park. Exciting stuff. These are all night games during the week. You got 2 640s and I believe 1 540 in the middle of that one. All of them are going to be on the Mariners TV. You don't have them on any of the other broadcasts, which is really great as well. So you don't have to go channel surfing for these ones. You can just enjoy some nice weeknight baseball. And of course, we'll be back. We have a show on Thursday night where we go live. Episode 50. It sounds like that one's going to be a nice milestone.
The 50 burger.
Yeah, check that out.
So,
and of course,
anybody who's been here, sorry, just to throw this out, anybody who's been here since the first episode or even first few episodes, throw a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you and love to see, because there's been a huge evolution of Up West Sports since the very first episode, where it was just my ugly mug just looking at a camera. Let us know what your thoughts are on the growth of this channel, and just if you have any fun thoughts from over the last year and a half, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Make sure you drop that in the comments, or if you're listening on audio, you can always hang out and comment us on Twitter, or hit us up anywhere on Up West Sports, at any social media at Up West Sports. That's where we are at. that series will end on Thursday. So we'll recap that during the live stream. We'll preview the next series as well. And of course, we'll have plenty more coverage for you on Hold My Trident, a Seattle Mariners podcast. And of course, if you're looking for any other Seattle sports, you can check us out at upwestsports.com. That'll do it for this episode. We'll see you back here next time, right here on Hold My Trident.